Hey, good evening, all. Can you confirm, you're able to hear us, hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so yesterday we were discussing about this YAML file, right? And we saw how YAML file will help us, building something. Okay, like yesterday we tried to build some text file and we try to search some text like in this, and so those are like we discussed as different stages. Okay, like one is build stage and the one is test phase, something like that, right? So yeah, so there is one more important kind of topic for, and in the YAML. So once we have this basic knowledge, yeah, we'll stop here and we'll move to the next next one in the uh, next topic, like MVC, and we'll jump into the Spring. And once we completed the Spring, so we have a couple of projects that we are going to do, small projects. Now after that, again we are going to come back to the YAML file and we are going to build a simple Java application, how we can deploy using YAML file, okay, in the GitLab. So that's what we are going to do it, okay. So before that, I just wanted to introduce one new topic at the in the YAML file, that is called anchors, okay. So what is anchor? So anchors is kind of, I'll give you an example first, and then we can go with the definition. Okay. So the anchor is like, let's say, if you wanted to utilize the name called test. Okay. So somewhere else in the same person object, or somewhere else outside of this person object. Okay. So like, let us consider there is one more property that is called self. Okay, and in the self, yeah, one second. Yeah, in the self, so let's say you're having same value like this. Okay, so you are having the same value, self test, and it is like, whenever you wanted to change the name over here, like now you're changing it to something called chain. Okay, and the self is also has to be changed, chain. So how do you achieve this, right? So there is a concept called anchors, okay, in YAML. So if you use that, if you use that anchor tag, okay, like one second, sorry. Okay, just a minute. Yeah. Okay. So how do we use that anchor tags? We utilize ampersand symbol, and you have to give a name for it. What kind of anchor it is? The name of the anchor, you can say. So I'm just saying the same thing. Name is my anchor name. Okay. And okay. So what I'm gonna do, yeah. So unused. Okay, that's fine. So when I declare this one as an anchor, if you see here, Eclipse is saying unused anchor. Okay. So anchor is used with the symbol ampersand. Okay. And whenever you wanted to use that anchor somewhere, so I'm gonna delete this chain and I have to use star name. Okay, so let me show you how this works. Okay, and I'll just copy it here and then we'll go inside. Okay, so now what the expectation? So the Jane should be present here when we converted this one to JSON, right? So let me show you. See, name Jane, and here it is Jane. Okay, let me just delete everything. Okay, and yeah, alter JSON. Yeah, see, so Jane now. Okay, so let me do one more thing. If I change something over here, change, so it will be changed over here as well. So this is called, anchor. One of the feature in the YAML file. This will definitely help us, to not to do any duplicate steps. Okay, so we can perform these anchor not only for a property and for the object as well. So something like this, if you wanted to utilize. Okay, so you're building a kind of YAML file which is having something related to a school project. Okay, so definitely there are common shared properties between students, and so those things actually we are going to write in in one object, and then that object can be converted as a anchor and we can use it. Okay, so let us take one small example. So if you see here in the person, you don't have city and country name over here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm going to write one more person. Okay, so person one, I'm gonna say. Yeah, that's okay. One second. Just removing this. Okay, one second. Yeah, let me just remove this. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just changing this one to a base person. Okay, base underscore person. So under the base person, I'm gonna write a couple of properties: city colon from XYZ, and country, colon, ABC. Okay, so if I wanted to utilize this object, okay, as an anchor, okay, so what we need to do, there's only the same way whatever you have done for a person, okay, so the similar way that you can use it for the object also. So what I'm going to do, I'm just ampersand and base, it will be the anchor name for it. And if I wanted to utilize that in an object, okay, so you have to use it starting with colon, okay, colon, the name of base. That's it. Okay, so let us go and just check it whether it is working out fine or not. Okay, so the expectation is the city and country should be there, populated in the person object. Okay, yeah, if you see here, so we have the base person and city XYZ, and whatever the properties that you see under the base person, okay, so which was added into the person. Okay, so now consider if you have multiple person objects, okay, multiple person objects, and everywhere you don't require to write city and country. So you just need to refer that anchor, okay, in the in like this, whatever we have done it here. Okay, so it is going to give those properties, okay, directly in your the person object. So this is how like anchors are utilized. So these anchors will help when we are building the job templates, okay, for different environments. We are going to publish the jar file, right? So that time actually this anchor tag will be helping us to write those job templates. I'm going to show you definitely that when we complete that one Spring Boot project, when we are trying to deploy into some AWS environment or Azure, so anything. So when we are doing that, actually I'm gonna show you like how where we use these anchor tags. Okay, but for the basic purpose, yeah, just remember what is an anchor and the syntax and all. Okay, any questions with the anchor tag? Oh, Sumati, you joined today. So do you have any prior experience, on Java?
No.
Okay, it might be very difficult to understand, these things because
Uh,
we are,
how many classes have completed so far for this batch?
it's almost like third week. Third week means like, yeah, almost 14, 15 classes has been already completed. Yeah,
Can can I have the recorded session so that uh, every day, like 3 to 4 classes, I can complete from my end? If I get any doubts, I can ask you.
sure. Yeah, it should be there. Yeah, I will try to ping you in the shade mark, or else, I'll ask actually, Tetra team, they can share with you the URL of those recordings.
Yeah.
And I think, if you can wait for one more week, 1.5 week or something like that. So again, we are going to start the same sessions, okay, for the March, so not March, for the April, starting from April 4th or April 5th, okay. So
Oh,
starting from April 5th, I think, we'll have another batch that is going to start.
okay.
Okay, yeah, go through. You can go through now, but yeah, okay.
Thank you.
But it will be a little difficult, okay. yeah, you joined today, and basically I was at YAML, so that's why it would be like little difficult to understand. Okay. Okay. So if you guys don't have any questions on the YAML, so let me go for a new topic called MVC. Okay. So MVC is a very kind of buzzword we always hear when we are trying to build a new application. Okay, with combination of UI, backend, and database. So this is kind of this is a concept, and you can consider it as one of the architectural design pattern. Okay, so which provides you like which provides you like very good what do we say, like a model kind of thing. Okay, a design kind of thing, to solve many problems that we are facing while building a project. Okay, so what this exactly does, right? Okay, so I'll show you, like when we don't have MVC. Okay, so there is a we don't have any architectural design pattern to build an application. So what we the prior to MVC, how they are building those applications, like if you wanted to build a UI application. So Java provides some very good concepts like JSPs and servlets. Okay, so this JSP is one of the very good um, concept whatever we have it, but because of JSP, actually there is a problem that we faced always. Okay, one is like JSP can be capable enough to write the code for UI, and also it is capable enough to write some server side code, okay, to execute that UI related things, or to pull something from the database, or to pull to perform some actions. Okay, so the JSPs, okay, are having the code for view, and it have the code for controller, and it have the code for model. So that means the entire the middle part, whatever you are seeing it here, so the JSPs were holding all the logic for it. And whenever we wanted to do some changes, okay, some change in the view, or some change in the controller, and some change in the model. Okay, so we were not able to you know uh, we were not able to rectify where exactly the change should go. Okay, so because these things, these are the things which are having very separate roles, and very separate logic that we need to implement. Okay, but because we don't have any kind of architectural pattern before MVC was there, so uh, you know one single file JSP, we were trying to do everything. And it is like the changes, if you wanted to introduce a new change, or if you wanted to change the existing logic, that would be like a little tough. Okay, so when we got this MVC, okay, so MVC had a very good a design pattern. Uh, okay, so to divide that code into multiple components, that you can say. Okay, so one is controller, one is model, and one is view. Okay, so that is where actually we call it as MVC. Okay, model view controller. Okay, so what exactly this architectural pattern say, right? So you divide the code into three pieces. One will deal with entire UI, okay, user interface. Okay, and this is where actually we write the user interface code, your Angular or your React, or your HTML, and all those things will go at view. Okay, and there is a model. What do we do with model? Model is, responsible for, to get interacts with the database and executes all the business logic. So model, you can consider it as a plain Java class. Okay, so that model is capable enough to connect with DB, and it is capable enough to process the business logic. Okay, and what is controller? Okay, so controller is responsible, to make the application flow properly. So what is controller? So it is going to act as a, traffic constable. Okay, so he is responsible, to find out how the flow is going in the project. Okay, so whenever a request comes from a client, okay, to our application, or so the controller the controller is responsible, to divert that request, for the correct way. Like, if he wanted to retrieve something, okay, about a student related details, so client, accessed our website, and he clicked on, student detail. Okay, so that request will come to our controller, and controller will decide where exactly it has to go. So it requires a database related input, like, we need to pull the database values. So it goes to model and get those values, and it again come back to the controller, and controller will give this raw DB values, okay, raw DB values to a view controller, sorry, to a view. Okay, so that view will convert all the raw data, whatever you picked it from database, into a user interface. Okay, like, if you are using Angular or React, so that data will be bind, to that component, and that component will be displayed, to client with a clean and user interface. Okay, so now after dividing, all these things into three parts. Okay, so what we achieved, right? The first one, we know where exactly the model, like, the business logic, and the database logic, how we are interacting. So there is one place that is called model. Okay, so if you wanted to do some changes, okay, in any of the business logic or database logic, you don't require to touch anything related to controller and view. You just go to model, and whatever the change that you wanted to do, you do it, and we can deploy it directly, right? So the same way, it applies for view and it applies for the controller. Okay, so this is like, the MVC design pattern. Okay, so it is like very simple, but it provided a very good, like, break between, the code whatever we are writing earlier combinedly. So this MVC pattern is still used, in all the places. Okay, and it is very highly used, architectural pattern for each and every project. Okay, so why I was covering this MVC? Because, we are going to enter into the we now still now actually we were writing single, Java projects. Okay, so which is having which we are running it from the uh, you know the Java, using Java compiler. We are compiling them, and we are running those applications, using the Java console only. But now we are a step ahead. Like, we wanted to run whatever the application that we are building it, we wanted to run that application on a server. Okay, so when I say server, so it is kind of a web application, or it is kind of a web service, okay, that you are going to expose it. So that's why we were trying to understand the MVC first, and then we'll go for the next topic. Okay, so any questions on the MVC? Okay. Okay. So we have many frameworks, okay, which are utilizing this MVC, and they are providing very good benefits, okay, to build web application, or any of the microservices related application. We wanted to build it. There are many frameworks in the market, okay. So one of the very famous framework, okay, so which is called as Spring, okay. So why we have why the Spring is famous, and what kind of future it is having, and how those futures can help us writing the many programming techniques, and how it can be utilized to develop web application and all. We are going to see them, okay. So yeah, first, what is Spring, right? Spring is a framework which enable easy way of building web application, okay. So, and it has lot of features, okay, but I just added only 3 over here. So first one is open source, and it is completely free, and you can utilize it. And also we do have lot of coverage, and lot of frequent builds which can be happen from the Spring team, okay. So let's say, why I'm saying that, even though it is open source, actually we do have certain things that in frameworks, if we found some kind of vulnerabilities, okay, so these vulnerabilities can be fixed very fast, because Spring is having a lot of users, okay. With this framework, there are a lot of users that utilizing this framework. So the Spring team are capable enough to resolve those vulnerabilities, and they can publish new versions of Spring that we can utilize in our projects, okay. So that's why, even though it is open source, it is very good to use, and it has very great features, okay. And the second one is very lightweight. Why do we call it as lightweight, right? So you're going forward, you'll understand why we call this Spring as very lightweight, okay. But I can give you a couple of examples, okay. So even though if you wanted to create a Spring application, okay, so it is like very easy to convert that into a web application or a Java application. You can utilize that Spring using some configurations, and Spring is going to take care of all those configurations, and object creations and everything on its own, with a very limited of configuration that we tell Spring to do it, okay. So those things, actually, whatever we are doing in a step-by-step process, okay. So you will understand why we call it as lightweight, okay, when we are trying to run that application in a Java environment, okay. So, and the third one is, we are saying that one of the future is framework of frameworks, okay. So why we are saying that framework or frameworks, okay. So because using Spring, actually it provides a very huge library, okay. You can utilize Hibernate over here, and you can utilize any other frameworks like Struts, and you can combine them, and you can usually utilize them in the Spring, okay. And we have its own frameworks like Spring MVC, and there are other frameworks that you are going to see, okay. So there are a lot of frameworks that we can integrate to the Spring very easily, okay. So because of its features, okay. So it provided such kind of source code that we can integrate with any of the framework very easily. So that's why we call it as framework of frameworks, okay. So it's Spring its own having a JPA, but you can still utilize Hibernate. You can just integrate with Hibernate very easily. Okay, so that's why we call it as framework of frameworks. Okay, so and when it comes to the Spring architecture, actually it is a layered architecture. So it has few layers, which help programmers to develop easily maintainable applications. So let's see that Spring architecture. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we come at, when you see this one, right? Spring architecture, actually we have to come from bottom to top. Okay. So what is this test, right? Spring provides, you know, test framework. Okay. To test our applications and, to test our code, in a unit test manner. Okay. Whatever we have it, like, JUnit. Okay. JUnit test. Okay. So Spring is also having a test framework. Okay. We can utilize that, and, we can perform unit testing. Okay. In the using this test framework. Okay. And when it come to the next level, actually the core container. So here, actually, whatever we were utilizing, whatever the beans that we have created in the project, and this core container is responsible to create those objects, and, it can have those life cycle of that object can be maintained in the core container. So what this core container also does, right? There is a very important feature that Spring provides to us. Like, one is dependency injection. So this dependency injection is a very, very, very famous feature for Spring. So what this dependency injection does, okay, before you utilize some class, in another class. Okay. So Spring is capable enough to inject that object. Okay. That object to your present class. Okay. So this dependency injection and every, the how it Spring is going to handle those injections, right, to other class. Okay. So that will be done at the core container level. Okay. And here only we maintain all the scope. Okay. And, here only you have this context object, so which can help us, right, maintain the session. Okay. Throughout the project. So there's a core container, and we are going to see what exactly these things, and how it is going to help us, whenever we are writing a project. Okay. Whenever we are developing a project. Okay. So we'll see in the next slides. Okay. In detailed manner. And when you come to the next layer, actually you see AOP, aspect oriented programming, and aspects instrumentation, messaging. So all these areas, like, it comes into, if you wanted to integrate with anything like MQ, middleware, sorry, you know, queues, MQ related things, and, if you wanted to publish some messages, consume some messages, actually, at this layer, actually we do those things. Okay. I'm gonna tell like, very, very good examples related to AOPs and aspects. Okay. So how these things can utilize, how we can utilize them, and what is the responsibilities of these things. Okay. And there is one more layer, like, web and data access integration. Web is responsible, Spring is having MVC framework. Okay. Web MVC framework. Okay. Inside. So this is responsible to provide, web related concepts. Okay. So one is web portlets and, web sockets, to connect to different applications, and it is capable enough to provide some controller related logic. So that is called servlet. So this is, the layer is the web layer, which is helping us, to create web applications in the using Spring framework. And the left side, if you see data access or integration, so yeah, Spring provides, the data access layer as well. We can utilize the existing Spring related data access layer. So what it does actually, it is helping us, to connect to the databases, and also it is having a very good framework to integrate with Hibernate, and utilize this JDBC related connections. Okay, and you can perform all the things. Okay, like transactions, and it is capable enough to maintain, what do we say that? Uh, Yeah. Okay. So transaction management, actually, the defaultly Spring provides that, and you don't need to worry about the commit rollbacks, whatever it does, in the code, right? Whenever you're writing some program. Okay. So you can just concentrate on connecting those database, and the transaction commit transaction, whether it is completed, whether if we require a rollback, all the things can be taken care by Spring with the help of, the transactions. Okay, so this is how, like, Spring architecture is like, there are separate layers, which are helping us, to build a very good application of Spring using Spring framework. Okay, so let us continue. We'll discuss in very detail for all these layers. Okay, so these are the things that we are considering, very Spring modules that we saw. Okay, so the Spring framework contains a lot of features which are well organized in about 20 modules. Okay, so these modules can be grouped together based on the primary features into following. So whatever we discussed: core container, data access integration, web, and AOP, aspect oriented programming, and instrumentation and test. Okay, so we will come from the what you know yeah, we will come each and everything using Spring Flow. I'm gonna cover all these things. Okay, so if you see here the Spring Flow IOC. So what is IOC? Like, we were talking about container, core container. Okay, inversion of control. Okay, so what is this inversion of control? So we have several steps that we are going to do it in the program, right? If you wanted to, let us consider there are two classes. Okay, class A and class B. Okay, so in the class B, we have to utilize class A related methods, or functions, or any other properties related to class A. So what we are going to do in a general way, you are going to write the class A first, and you write what are all the methods that we can utilize using class A. You are going to add them into the class A, and then in the class B, you are going to create a class A object, and you utilize them whenever it is required in the class B, right? So this is a general way that we do it. But there is a feature which we have it in Spring IOC, inversion of control. So this is a container feature. Okay, so what it does, it is going to create the object, and it is going to wire them together, and it is going to configure them, and it is going to maintain the complete life cycle of that project, that object. So what I'm trying to say it here, so Spring is saying that you don't worry about creating objects, and you won't worry about wiring those objects into one class to other, one class object to another class object. Okay, you don't require to worry. Okay, I will take care of this configuration and this auto wiring, and I will take care of the object lifecycle. So that is the inversion of control feature. So Spring is saying to us, okay, you don't worry about the dependencies of your classes. Okay, I'm gonna auto wire them whenever the class object, or whenever the class is called. Okay, so that means you don't require to create any class B, class A object directly in the class B. Instead of what we're gonna do, we are going to utilize the Spring feature. so that Spring can automatically auto wire that object. It can create that object automatically, and it is going to assign that object to your class B. So we'll see that how Spring does, with an example in going forward. But for now, just consider that, Spring is going to perform all the steps for creating an object, and it is going to auto write for, the required classes. Okay. Okay. So how it is going to do it, right? That Spring. So there is a very, you know, like, very useful concept which is called dependency injection. Okay, so Spring is able to identify, uh, you know, with some annotations. Okay, what are all the dependencies for this class? Okay, so what I need to inject, okay, what I need to auto wire, to those objects. Okay, whatever it is declared in some class. Okay, so using those annotations, actually Spring, uh, Spring can, create those objects, and it can auto wire, to the respective classes. Okay, so how many ways that it can create, utilize this dependency injection, right? So there are two ways. Okay, one is by constructor, and the another one is by setter method. Okay, so Spring, what it does, using a constructor argument or sub element. So bean is used for constructor injection. Okay, so you might be having some difficulty to understand these things, but when you see an example how the dependency injection is working, and using by constructor and using by setter method, you'll be able to understand very easily. Okay, I'm going to show you that demo. Okay, but just for now, actually treat it as, the dependency injection is happening using a constructor argument when we say by constructor dependency injection. And when we say by setter method dependency injection, that is the property of sub element of bean is used as setter injection. So setter methods and getter methods, right? Those, the setter methods are going to help us, to create a bean object. Okay, so that's why we do have two different dependency injections. One is by constructor and one other one is by setter method. Okay, so let me go to the next topic, AOP. Yeah, you will be seeing all these as an example, okay, in going forward. But let me complete this AOP. Okay, so what is this AOP, right? AOP is aspect-oriented programming. Okay, providing modularity with aspect rather than class. Okay, so AOP breaks the program logic in distinct parts called as concerns. Okay, and increases modularity by cross-cutting concerns. So like, these three statements, it it doesn't, like, it is not giving very proper, very proper example what exactly this AOP is going to help us, right? So I'll tell you one example so you can understand the concept behind aspect oriented programming. Okay, so the aspect oriented programming, you might already saw it, but you are not aware whether this is called as aspect oriented programming. Okay, so let us consider, uh, you have visited a website, like in our very famous website Amazon. Okay, and you saw a mobile phone, okay, in the website, and you actually, gone through different configuration of the same similar kind of phone. And what you're going to do, you are just visited a couple of mobile phones, and you just logged off, and you just came out of that Amazon website, but you did not purchase it. So then what Amazon does it actually, so with the help of this aspect oriented programming, okay, so whenever you logged in, actually you logged in at some time, and from that time, what are all the actions that you performed, and what are all the objects, or what are all the catalog, what are all the items that you viewed. Okay, so it is going to capture your concerns. Okay, and let's say you're trying to you have viewed multiple mobile phones. Okay, and those will be captured by Amazon, and immediately if you stopped browsing, about those mobile phone check and all, after 10 minutes or after 15 minutes, you are going to get some notifications saying that, okay, there are some offers going on this mobile phone category, or these are the viewed items that you have just viewed, but we have very good offers going on, on the EMI perspective, or some cashbacks is there, and this is a very valid offer for only 1 hour. All these things start pushing that to you as a notification, or you see what they does actually. You close that browser and you opened a new browser, and you just searching for something, and you visited some other websites, and you start seeing those ads, okay, coming on the right side or the left side on the top of the website. You are seeing that whatever the visited whatever you have visited, right, the mobile phones in the Amazon, you'll be seeing uh, similar kind of suggestions on the ads. Okay, so this mobile phone, and you can buy it for this price, something like that. It was keep on giving those pushing notifications for you, to purchase that item, right? So what is this kind of things is called, right? This is called aspect oriented programming. Okay, so we will try to identify what customer is needed and what customer is looking for, and we are going to capture those things, and these things will be delivered. These things, the offers, whatever we are trying to do on this product, can be viewed in a different way, like like pushing some notifications, and wherever you go, the ad will follow you. Okay, so utilize, we have this offer for you, we have this offer for you. So those things actually, we can achieve them with using aspect oriented programming. So hope you understand what exactly this aspect oriented programming is. So if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, I'll take it as no. And the last one is MVC. Okay, so MVC is not like so it provides like uh, inbuilt inbuilt framework of Spring. Okay, so which is going to help us to build web applications using Spring MVC. So we do have everything, not only you know you can still utilize HTMLs and JSPs when you are trying to build Spring MVC, sorry, the view related things, but Spring also has its own framework which can be utilized for view purpose also. And Spring internally provides certain client validations which can be done very effectively, utilizing them, the predefined validations very easily. Okay, so Spring itself is having those validation kind of things, but nowadays we are more into Angular, React, and all. But we are not utilizing Spring MVC framework as much as previous, that in last few years actually, before Angular, before React, actually we were using the Spring MVC, but now also we are using, but it is very limited, and we were into a different kind of you know uh, we were into different kind of environment now. like, into microservices, and, we were utilizing those microservices in Angular and React. Okay. So not only this, there are other frameworks that, we were utilizing to create UI, and then we go with the service calls, web service. So yeah, I'm not covering much on the Spring MVC, but you can just consider it as, we have a very good set of package of building, or building a UI component, okay, with very limited code, that you can utilize Spring MVC framework. Okay. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are just going to write some program, so, and like, some project. Okay, and we'll understand step-by-step approach. Okay, so first we are going to create a tightly coupled, uh, game runner class. Okay, so this is like, so the design is, first we need to create a game runner to run different games like Mario, Super Contra, and Pac-Man. Okay, in a iterative approach. Okay, so the first iteration is the basic things, and we'll learn how we can make it very better way, in a programming concept. Okay, so the first way, we are going to learn with the tightly coupled of Java code. Okay, for running game runner class, and the Mario or Super Contra and Pac-Man. And the second iteration, actually, we are going to learn how to make this game runner and everything, loosely coupled. Okay, and the second level, actually, for the iteration 3. So till iteration 2, we are not introducing any Spring related things, but from iteration 3, we are going to learn first level of Spring Beans, how it is going to help us, uh, objects, object wiring and all. So that was the first level of iteration 3. And when it comes to the iteration 4, let Spring take care of everything, and we will try to utilize most of the Spring features, and we'll make it very simple way to complete this program. Okay, in to complete this program in very limited steps. Okay, so let us take this example starting from tomorrow, and we will try to complete this, and you'll be able to understand how the Spring is going to work. Okay, so this example will tell you like what exactly the complete dependency injection and auto wiring, how Spring is going to create an object, and we are going to utilize most of the Spring frequent annotations that we utilize in a project. Okay, so yeah, tomorrow we'll see that, and if you have any questions, let me know. We can take care of them right now, but yeah, if you don't have, feel free to log off. Yeah, we can end the session.